From the CNN Center to viewers around the world, this is CNN 10, and I'm Carl Azus. It's great to have you watching this Wednesday. It's been a year and a day since a passenger jet crashed shortly after takeoff in the island nation of Indonesia. The flight was operated by Lion Air, a low-cost airline, and the plane was built by Boeing, an American company. That's part of the reason why Boeing's CEO, Dennis Muilenburg, appeared before the U.S. Congress on Tuesday on the anniversary of the Lion Air crash. And it wasn't the only one linked to Boeing's 737 MAX plane. In March of this year, an Ethiopian Airlines flight crashed shortly after takeoff in Ethiopia. It was the same model aircraft.
We can and must do better. We've been challenged and changed by these accidents. We've made mistakes, and we got some things wrong. We're improving, and we're learning, and we're continuing to learn.
Both crashes killed everyone on board, 346 people in all. And both crashes have been linked to a flawed computer system that repeatedly pushed the plane's noses down despite the pilot's efforts to correct it. After the Lion Air crash last year, some pilots said they didn't know the faulty computer system existed on the plane. And Boeing had apparently gotten permission from U.S. regulators to remove information about the system from the 737 MAX manual. That led some lawmakers to question the relationship between Boeing and the Federal Aviation Administration, which oversees air transportation in the United States. The 737 MAX has been grounded around the world. It's not allowed to fly. Boeing says it's taken steps to fix the model, that it hopes it'll be allowed to fly again before the end of the year, and that the crashes have taken a toll on its business.
Investigators say they identified 9 areas of flaws and mistakes that combined contributed to the disaster of Lion Air Flight 610, which resulted in the deaths of 189 people off the coast of Indonesia. And that if any one of these factors had not taken place, that perhaps this disaster could have been averted. The blame, they say, lies with everything from the manufacturer of the 737 MAX 8 plane, that is Boeing, with a design flaw and certification flaws in an autopilot feature, with the Florida-based manufacturer of one of the sensors on the plane that was malfunctioning, and then with the low-budget Indonesian airline itself, the crew on board the final flight, that they failed to communicate among each other about the malfunctions. And in the final 11 minutes of the plane as it flew, when the captain was wrestling with this autopilot feature that was sending the plane into a dive, and he was forced to manually override it dozens of times, when he handed off control of the plane to his first officer, that officer was not properly informed and quickly lost control of the aircraft, and it went into its final fatal dive. The head of the investigation spoke to CNN and described this as a new kind of air disaster. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration has responded to the investigation saying, quote, "We welcome the recommendations from this report and will carefully consider these and all other recommendations as we continue our review of the proposed changes to the Boeing 737 MAX." Now, this new classification of Boeing aircraft has been completely grounded because 5 months after the Lion Air disaster, an Ethiopian Airlines flight crashed as well, involving a Boeing 737 MAX and also this same flawed autopilot feature. Boeing has come out with a statement saying that it has corrected the autopilot feature, that it has created new fail-safes to prevent it from going automatically into effect if it gets faulty information relayed to the airplane's computer, and that it has improved training manuals to ensure that pilots will know what to do in the future if this autopilot feature kicks in. Boeing says it has faced losses of up to $5 billion in relation to these 2 air disasters, and it will be paying compensation of some $100 million to the families of the many victims. Ivan Watson, CNN, Hong Kong.
10-second trivia. What do golden eagles, polar bears, great white sharks, and killer whales have in common? Are they all mammals, endangered species, apex predators, or omnivores? All of these animals are apex predators, meaning they're at the top of the food chain. And though great whites are considered a vulnerable but not endangered species, they appear to be vanishing from the area around a popular surfing beach in South Africa. And in this case, that's not a good thing. There's a lot of mystery surrounding great whites. They're the world's largest predatory fish, but scientists don't know how many of them exist. They're known to migrate long distances, but scientists don't know exactly where they go. Researchers are concerned, though, by what they're not seeing near Cape Town.
We're going to throw the cage off the back of the boat.
We've come to dive with an apex predator.
Seal Island is probably the world's most famous location for seeing great white sharks.
On front!
Oh, there he is! There he is!
And we see plenty of sharks.
It was incredible. It came right up to us and checked us out.
Oh, right there, right there, right there!
But no great whites. These sharks are scavengers, not the iconic hunter that made this bay famous. After millions of years, in 2019, the great whites of Cape Town have vanished.
For me, the loss of the great white sharks is losing part of my soul. You know, this is an animal that it shaped my life. It's given me some of the greatest highs of my life.
Chris Fellows, the photographer who put these sharks on the map, is forcing himself to speak in the past tense.
The first time you saw this, what was it like?
It was unbelievable. I mean, everybody's fascinated by great white sharks, but flying great white sharks, to see this incredible super predator taking to the air, showing off its athletic prowess, it was fantastic.
This past season, they haven't seen a single shark.
On the cliffs above, shark spotters used to take these sightings for granted. This year, they've recorded 0 great whites, not a single one.
What if they don't come back?
Yeah, we're just going to have to wait.
Fishermen like Solomon say there are more seals now too, competing for their catch. It seems the ecosystem is already feeling the effects.
The impact of losing an apex predator for the marine environment is going to be huge.
Biologist Sarah Andriotti says the 0 sightings is alarming, but not surprising. She predicted the collapse years ago. In 2012, by studying genetics, she found that the population was smaller and more vulnerable than anyone imagined.
What were your reaction to the population of great whites in South Africa?
Concern, mostly, but also shock. We were expecting to find 1,000 or more individuals around here.
Overfishing, shark poaching, and the weak gene pool have all contributed.
People don't like to listen to sad stories, and it is difficult to realize that humans could have such an impact on such a prehistorical, iconic predators.
Unless we really step up our efforts to conserve what we have left, South Africa's once bountiful shores are becoming more and more empty by the day.
If there's any hope for the great whites to return, he says the focus should now be on what needs to be done, not about what once was. David Mackenzie, CNN, False Bay, South Africa.
A friend of mine from college had this theory that the world was turning to lint, starting with what's in our dryers. I'm not saying this is proof, but it was collected from dryers across the country to form a 690-pound ball of lint. Why? Great question. A dryer repair company wanted to set a new world record and to raise awareness about the importance of cleaning lint from our dryers, because it's flammable, as setting it on fire clearly showed. You could say it sparked up like flint, a fire from a fiber, a flashing glint of lint. What started as threads unraveled into shreds, what started as a yarn was quick to burn. Does it seem off-kilter to take a dryer filter and then clean it just to gleam it for a demonstration? It's a strange conflagration that lights conversation and concludes today's displays on CNN 10. I'm Carl Azus.